Clint Eastwood, the famous actor and director who came from nothing to rule Hollywood. But behind the cold eyes and steady performance on screen is a life full of suffering. From moving around a lot as a child to having mental health problems early in his work, Eastwood's path was not an easy one. He went through panic attacks, a terrible plane crash, and the sad death of his father. Even with all of these problems, he became one of the most famous actors in movie history. Clint Eastwood became a star. Did his troubled past shape who he is today? Wait until the end to find out the story that wasn't told. Little Clint Eastwood came into the world at St. Francis Hospital in San Francisco on May 31st, 1930. He shocked the staff by lifting an 11-pound weight, which is how he got the name Samson. Hilary Sarr and Ruth Mae Runner were his parents. Their family tree had English, Scottish, Dutch, German, and Irish roots. Clint's family tree even has a Mayflower passenger in it somewhere. After some time, a younger sister named Jean Bernhardt joined the family. In the 1930s, it was hard for Clint's dad to keep a regular job. There were times when he worked as a salesman and even as a detective in San Francisco. The Eastwoods moved a lot during the 1930s, but by 1940, they were settled in wealthy Piedmont, California. Don't listen to those stories Clint tells about the Great Depression. With a pool, a country club membership, and all the other nice things, the Eastwoods were having a good life. Clint wasn't very good at school, which was sad. Because he didn't do well in school, he had to take extra lessons over the summer to catch up. At Piedmont High School, he really showed how wild he was. He was quickly kicked out of school for writing that crude message on the scoreboard and setting the figure on fire on the school lawn. Oakland Technical High School was kind of like a fresh start. He was pushed to be in school plays because teachers saw a spark of ability in him. Clint wasn't interested though. He liked fast cars, girls, and getting better at sports like tennis and golf. Clint liked doing things by himself more than playing hoops, even though he could have been a good player. He fixed car engines and even learned how to take care of airplanes. He also learned to play the piano so well that a friend said his fingers were bleeding from practicing. But the graduation? A big question mark. The records aren't clear. Fritz Maines and his friends think he just dropped out to have fun somewhere else. In early 1949, Clint's father moved to Seattle, so he stayed with his friend Harry Pendleton in Oakland for a while. When he got an invite to a party in Malibu, it was a stroke of luck he met the film director Howard Hawks. This was a big turning point in his life. But there was real work before Hollywood. Springfield, Oregon is a logging town. Sometime as a lifeguard after getting his Red Cross card, and he even played ragtime piano in an Oakland bar. What a crazy beginning. He had a lot of ability and some lucky breaks, but was fate really guiding him the whole time? Things are about to get really interesting, so stay tuned. Clint Eastwood joined the Army during the Korean War in 1951, but he didn't end up on a battlefield. Instead, he ended up at Fort Ord, California. What was his job? Swimming teacher? It's a safe gig, right? But fate can change things. September 30th, 1951. Need a ride back to base from Seattle? It turns out that the flight is cursed. First, there's bad weather, and then things get really bad. The back door of the plane opens, and Clint makes a temporary fix, but the radios and air systems stop working. That sounds like a nightmare. When the gas runs out, things really get bad. The pilot has to ditch the plane because he or she is lost in the fog and many miles from the coast of California. Even though sharks are a real danger, Clint and the pilot blow up rafts and work hard to get to land. They are in a fight with the ocean. According to different stories, waves flip Clint's raft over, making him swim 2 to 4 miles. This is the most important part of his Army job. Remember that job as a swimming teacher? It could give him the edge he needs to get through this. Clint fights dreams in the bioluminescent water, even though he is tired and lost. Still, he makes it to shore. He meets up with the pilot again at an RCA radio station where he is cold and shocked. The pilot, amazingly, has also survived. After many years, Clint plays in the movie Escape from Alcatraz. Frank Morris is played by him. Morris is an inmate who dares to swim across the freezing San Francisco Bay to escape the notorious island jail. Is art copying life? It looks like Clint got the toughness that makes his on-screen escape so realistic by escaping death. But hey, being in the service isn't all work. Clint works part-time at a sugar company to make up for his lousy $67 a month salary. There's also the rumored relationship with the daughter of a cop. Making friends never hurts. Even then, he felt something after going to Carmel. I'd love to live here one day. Some of his military friends, like future TV stars Richard Long and Martin Milner, are his friends. He gave up his boots for a badge and the dusty plains for city streets in the 1970s and early 1980s. We met Dirty Harry during this time. He was a famous San Francisco cop who wasn't afraid to break the law to get his man. In films like Thunderbolt, Lightfoot, and The Gauntlet, where the lines between right and wrong became less clear. The idea of the bad guy with a bad guy with a badge stuck around. Eastwood also showed his funny side in the Every Which Way movie, which starred his orangutan friend Clyde. The scary escape from Alcatraz marked the end of this age. Clint showed that he wasn't just good at playing heroes. He could also play a frightened prisoner just as well. A terrible accident happened on the set of the 1975 movie The Eiger Sanction. As a trick double, David Knowles, an experienced mountain climber, was needed for a few more shots of a climbing scene. He worked with another climber, Mike Hoover, to finish the job. They were able to get the video, but then bad things happened. As the men stood on a ledge, a sudden rock slide sent a boulder flying at them. Mike Hoover was hurt badly and fractured his skull, and David Knowles tragically died. A scary fact is that the horrible scene looked a lot like one they had just finished filming a few days before. We flew up to that same location, and there was the scene that we had been faking for 2 days. One of the climbers who survived said of the shock. There was a dead body of Dave Knowles on the end of the rope. It wasn't possible. Fantasy and real life meet head on. Clint Eastwood was saddened by the news. He blamed himself for the death and was so sad that he almost gave up on the whole project. But his team, who knew that making films comes with risks, told him to keep going because they thought it was the best way to honor David Knowles' memory and hard work. The people in Eastwood's films changed in the 1980s and early 1990s. They were no longer just tough, they were heavy. He was a pilot with PTSD in Firefox, and a police officer who is haunted by the killer he is after in Tightrope. Eastwood's heroes fought not only outside bad guys, but also their own inner demons. In The Rookie, a man's fixation on a case put those around him in danger, and in White Hunter Blackheart, a film director became obsessed with an elephant hunt. Unforgiven was the best movie of this age. Clint went back to his Western roots, but this time he was an angry ex-con who was trying to deal with his violent past. After the 2000s, Clint Eastwood became known for being grumpy. In Space Cowboys, he plays an old pilot who finally gets his chance to go to space after a long wait. He's a former profiler in blood work, but his health problems make it hard for him to find the killer. But Eastwood was at his most grumpy in movies like $1 Million Baby, in which he plays an unwilling boxing coach, and Gran Torino, in which a racist warrior finds redemption in a way no one expected. It's the same old grumpy guy in his most recent movie, Cry Macho. This time, he plays a worn-out horseman traveling through rural Mexico. Clint Eastwood's personal life is just as exciting as the films he's directed. With his first marriage to Maggie Johnson in 1953, he seemed to want to be stable. Eastwood was hesitant to settle down at first, but he did it anyway. However, the happiness in the home soon ended. Unhappiness set in, and having affairs with other people started to come up a lot. The first result of Eastwood's affair-filled life was a daughter named Lori Murray, who was born in secret and adopted without Eastwood's knowledge. After many years, Kimber Lynn was born after another affair. Even though Maggie knew about these wrongdoings, the pair stayed together for a while and even had their own children, Kyle and Allison. The cracks in the front, on the other hand, were getting bigger. By 1979, there were rumors that Eastwood was seeing his co-star Sandra Locke, which led to the end of their relationship. Eastwood's love choices had effects that went far beyond the news. Different stories have been told about Eastwood's connection with her father. At times, she's talked about a strong bond, and at other times, she said she felt ignored and angry, and she even said she begged for a closer friendship. Lori Murray's story adds another level of depth to Eastwood's own life story. Lori was adopted as a baby and didn't find out who her real father was until the 1990s, when she hired a private detective. Eastwood accepted her when she reached out, but it's still not clear if he ever actively looked for her or just didn't know she existed until she told him. It all started on the set of Rawhide when Eastwood started seeing stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis. It was said to have lasted 14 years and produced a daughter, Kimber. However, Eastwood says he didn't know she was his at first. He would keep secrets about his kids in the same way again and again. In 1972, Sandra Locke came into the picture. At that time, Eastwood was still dating Johnson, and Locke was married to a close friend. They had an instant connection with the outlaw Josie Wales, which turned into a passionate but troubled romance. Locke said that Eastwood forced her to have abortions and a 2-ball ligation, which was against his wishes. This bad relationship lasted for 10 years and ended with Eastwood being sued for theft and broken promises. Eastwood met flight attendant Jacelyn Reeves while Locke was still in the picture. Their one-night stand led to the birth of 2 children, Scott and Catherine. At about the same time, he met actress Frances Fisher. For her, it was love at first sight. Even though Locke was always there, they started a happy relationship that led to the birth of their daughter, Francesca. But Eastwood's secret children with Reeves, the stress of past affairs, and paparazzi pictures all pointed to cheating. In the end, this relationship also ended too. Back in 1992, Eastwood was interested in news reporter Dina Ruiz. They fell in love quickly and quickly got married in 1996. Soon after, they had a girl named Morgan. Eastwood seemed to be in a better mood at this point, but a reality show with Dina made him feel less private. As Dina looked for help from an old friend, Scott Fisher, things got worse, while Eastwood started going out with his ex-wife, Erica Tomlinson Fisher. In 2013, the marriage ended for good. On the other hand, Eastwood fell in love with hostess Christina Sandera in 2015. The couple has kept their relationship quiet, and they've even been to events with Eastwood's ex-wives and kids, which shows that he has become more mature and friendly in his later years. People have been wondering about Clint Eastwood's health for a few years now. Concerns grew after not being seen in public for more than 450 days. The last time he was seen was at the AT Pro-Am golf tournament in February 2022. This is an event he likes and is close to his house. People who were close to him were worried even more when he wasn't at the tournament in 2023 where his son Scott was participating. Some people said Eastwood was gay, but he put those rumors to rest last month when he showed up at a rare Jane Goodall event in his hometown of Carmel by the sea. People saw him smiling and talking with Goodall. He seemed to be in a good mood. Photos of the 93-year-old celebrity show that he is in good health. He has longer hair, a full beard, and is dressed in a casual but stylish way. He is even back behind the camera, directing and producing the courtroom drama Juror No. 2. This brought him back into the public eye. In November of last year, he was seen on the Georgia set, clearly working hard. Eastwood watches his cholesterol readings and eats a low-fat, high-protein diet. He probably learned this from his father, who died young from heart disease. This healthy way of life clearly runs in the family, as Clint's son, star Scott Eastwood, says that his father inspired him to get in shape. Scott told Clint that he told him to lift weights when he was a teenager, and he now follows a similar strict diet that focuses on nutrients instead of treats. That Clint Eastwood won't let his age define him is clear whether he's starring, directing, or just spending an afternoon with other environmentalists. Thanks for seeing it. Comment and like this video to let us know you like it. Also, don't forget to follow and hit that bell.